than our trees. He loves our cars so much they even have their own elevator. But the people who design and build and sell those cars, well, in Romney's world, the cars get the elevator and the workers get the shaft.
That was only a few weeks ago, and after that convention, if you told Democrats this would be a dogfight, let alone even be trilling, they'd say you were crazy. But a lot has changed after 90 minutes, certainly in Denver. That, of course, the former governor of Michigan, Jennifer Granholm, and she gave one of the more rousing, if I put it politely, addresses at the convention here. And she was also one of the only ones who did see some trouble coming before that first debate. Well, Andrew caught up with her earlier today to see how she was still feeling about both her party and her favorite presidential hopeful here. And it was an interesting conversation, wasn't it?
And you touched on it, Rich, that she did before the presidential debate actually predict that President Obama was going to lose that first debate. So she's got a pretty good track record at this, but still she thinks President Obama will come out on top come November 6th. She's also got a lot of faith that Uncle Joe, as she called him, she's good with the language like that, will pull out all the stops tonight. Governor, it's only been a few weeks since your full-throated defense of the president at the Democratic National Convention. Are you still as enthusiastic for the president's re-election chances today? And what do you say to Democrats who have been panicking since last week's debate?
This is what I say to Democrats. Take a chill pill, relax, it's going to be all right. Anybody who's ever gone through a campaign before knows that there are always bumps in the road. I want to be their personal therapy session. Everybody settle down. We got a great debate coming up tonight. Democrats should break out the popcorn because Uncle Joe and, you know, Mr. Ryan are going to go at it head to head, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch.
I get the sense you feel differently going into tonight's debate as you did last week when you predicted that you thought the president would lose last week's debate.
You know, I've looked at this stuff. Every incumbent president who has gone through a first debate by a challenger, the challenger in the past 5 out of 6 times has won. It's just that the president, not just this president, but every president, they are busy doing other stuff. They're rusty. They, you know, the debate is an, you know, it's an inconvenience, honestly. I mean, I'll just speak for myself. You know, as governor, I went through a lot of debates as attorney general and all of that. I hated debates with a passion, but, and I hated debate practice with a passion. But if you had a bad debate, you better believe you were going to bring your A game to the second debate. So I predict the second debate, the president wins.
And given your debate experience, what do you see Vice President Biden doing tonight? Playing more offense or more defense, going after Paul Ryan or sort of counterattacking Paul Ryan?
Well, I think he's got to decide, the vice president has to decide how much of his debate real estate he wants to expend on answering incoming scuds, as I call them, answering attacks, how much of his real estate he wants to spend on attacking, and how much of that real estate he wants to spend on talking to the American people. Now, you know, I played Sarah Palin in the debate prep for Joe Biden in 2008. And so, you know, I have a good feel for him in terms of how he approaches this. He's very game. He's such a likable person to begin with that I think he's going to come in and on tonight be a happy warrior. I think he's going to attack with a smile. He's not going to allow misstatements to go unanswered, and he's going to hold their feet to the fire on some of the not just misstatements that Mitt Romney's made, but the ones that Paul Ryan has made as well.
Somehow I have a hard time envisioning you as Sarah Palin. But Governor, you spoke about holding...
Listen, I wore my glasses, you betcha.
So,
I became a paleontologist. I studied all of her debates. I looked at all of her stuff. I embodied Sarah Palin. I didn't look like her, but I embodied her in that debate prep.
And yet you've come out of it on the other side. You mentioned holding Paul Ryan accountable tonight with any mistruths that may come out. How do you do that? Don't you have to walk a fine line in not seeming to be over the top or overly aggressive when doing so?
Yeah, it is. This is a really good question, and I think Joe Biden is a great person to do this because he is a likable person because he's relished the job of being pit bull for the president. But you're right, you don't want to take down your favorability yourself, right? You don't want to seem like a jerk. He won't do that. There is a way to go after somebody, but be respectful. If they are making, if Paul Ryan lobs the same $716 billion cut to Medicare that Mitt Romney did 5 times in the presidential debate in the first one, then, Joe Biden can easily have call him on the spot on it, call Paul Ryan on it, because of course Paul Ryan assumed those very savings in his budget. So there's ways to do it, but if I were Joe Biden, I would decide in advance which of the misstatements I want to go after. What am I going to be attuned for? Make sure you go after them in a respectful way. I would have practiced those, the responses, but I'm not going to allow lies to be said and unchecked.
You've spent a lot of time on your program, War Room, weeknights on Current TV, going over and defending the president's record. President Obama being accused of not doing a sufficient job of that last week. Do you expect to hear more of that from Vice President Biden tonight?
Absolutely. The vice president is going to make sure that he tells the American people the progress that this administration has made and the plans they've got for the future. I think he will not miss an opportunity to be very proactive in laying forward the agenda, but not allowing misstatements to sit there. Because once, especially in a format like this where there are 50 or 60 million people watching, to allow a misstatement to sit there unanswered means that people start to believe that. You cannot allow that to happen.
All right. So I'll start with you. We'll go around, Andrew. How important is tonight?
I think it's important. I think it's exactly reverse from where we were a week ago, and I can't believe I'm saying that. But I think it's more important for Biden to basically stop the hemorrhaging in the president's numbers, and he needs a good performance to do that. And ironically, I think more of the pressure and the expectations are on Ryan, because I think more people think he's going to be an effective debater. And everybody sort of dismisses Joe Biden as being crazy Uncle Joe. So there's less pressure on him to actually score points.
Historically, though, Dom, are VP debates looked at more as they're speaking for the ticket? Or will people say, well, Ryan, maybe if it didn't go well, he wasn't ready for prime time, but you know what, that doesn't detract at all for, no one's voting for the vice president. I mean, when we talk about the stakes here, are they really fighting for the ticket here tonight, or are they fighting for the news cycle?
Historically, it's fighting for the news cycle. It's fighting for number one at the ticket. Historically, it plays no impact at all on the presidential race. But tonight is extremely different. You hit it on the nose. It's about perception. The Democrats have got to stop the hemorrhaging, and I think that Biden is going to show you he's not going to be crazy Joe tonight. Joe Biden is going to hit a grand slam tonight. Watch and see.
Every time I mock him for these crazy things, he turns out right. Okay, so as much as I don't want to give Dom any credit here for this, from your perspective, how much does going through this gauntlet help? I mean, it's not like Ryan hasn't gone through the debates. I saw Mitt Romney interviewed. He goes, I think maybe he might have had a debate in high school. You don't become a congressman in a multi-term without having gone through debates. And you debate almost professionally in Congress. Does it matter how much you have under your belt in terms of experience on a national stage?
You know, Joe Biden is a senator. He's been a senator for 30 years. He's been a member of the club. Paul Ryan is a member of the House. The culture of the House of Representatives is very different from the culture of the Senate. It's very rough, it's very ready, it's very argumentative, it's topsy-turvy. So the key, I think, for Joe Biden is to be Joe Biden, remain in his skin, don't be condescending, don't be grouchy, don't be angry. These are not attributes that will go well for him. He needs to come across as being tolerant and fair. And Ryan, by contrast, cannot be rude, cannot be brash, also can't be angry. He has to be energetic, sincere, and informative. If both of them stay within their skin and play their strong game, it could be actually a very good debate.
Who knows, Nick, but we are hearing there's been a lot of prep from both sides. There's no flybys like has been alleged that President Obama did before Denver. Right. There's been some thought that there's such a messaging and a memorization going on in the Ryan that he's going to stick to his points. who would you be more concerned about if you're the campaign manager of the two? Because Biden can go in either direction on this. You kind of know what you're going to get from Ryan. I guess the only fear being too wonky. If you were saying, I want to pick this guy or the other guy, regardless of the politics, who would you be more comfortable with going into tonight?
I mean, I think I'd be more comfortable with Joe Biden. I mean, people forget that one of the reasons Barack Obama even picked Joe Biden was because he was a good debater, and he did very well in those presidential.
A lot of people thought he won those primary debates, right?
A lot of people say he won those primary debates, and he didn't really get a chance to shine in 2008 because he had to be very cautious up against Sarah Palin. At the time, because that was the big news story, is one of the top-rated debates in history.
He has to be on offense tonight.
But
Would you
tonight,
agree to that?
I think he has to be very aggressive. I think he has to be factual, but he has to be very aggressive. I think one of the things that Ryan gets into trouble with, and he had, people responded to his Republican convention speech very well, but then in the days after, there was a lot of fact-checking going on, and I think a goal of the Democrats tonight needs to be coming out of this that the Republicans aren't being truthful. And so I think Joe Biden needs to be aggressive, but he needs to lay down the facts that are in the Democrats' favor.
All right. Again, everybody, keep this dialogue going online here. You can make your opinions heard on who you think will do better tonight. And also, don't forget here, we got that debate for you in its entirety, and then post-debate coverage beginning here at 9 o'clock. All right. We're going to jump to a quick commercial break here. But when we return, more conversation on the VP debate here, and will it be Scranton Joe or Gentleman Joe on that stage tonight? Will we see a wonky Ryan, or will we play the young and relatable card? All that and a lot right after this.